$75 million will be lent to the Australian Industry Development Corporation, $10 million goes to the Australian National Line, and $15 million to the state's Housing Assistance Program. You're watching Channel 7 Eyewitness News. We'll be back with you in a few moments.
You are watching Channel 7 Eyewitness News. The who's who of Australian racing gathered at City Hall this morning on the eve of Brisbane's premier sprint race, the Stradbroke Handicap. The occasion was the first civic reception held in Brisbane to mark the start of the Winter Racing Carnival. At the function were officials of the Queensland Turf Club and Brisbane Amateur Turf Club and local and interstate owners, trainers and jockeys. Deputy Lord Mayor Alderman Brian Walsh, in welcoming the guests, said the racing industry provided a lot of finance and tourism for the city. Chairman of the QTC, Sir Douglas Wadley, replied by saying that although prize money for this year's carnival had been cut, there would still be more than $750,000 distributed during the carnival.
A Commonwealth police officer told the Melbourne City Court today that British MP Mr John Stonehouse confessed last December to faking his disappearance in Florida. Detective Inspector John Sullivan said Stonehouse told him he wanted to escape from extraordinary political and business pressures and blackmail in England. Inspector Sullivan was the first witness at a hearing to consider extraditing Stonehouse to England to face charges alleging a $250,000 conspiracy and theft. Sullivan told the court Stonehouse faked the identity of a dead man at Miami Beach, Florida, before flying to Australia as a migrant. Lions were on the prowl at Brisbane Airport today, not the man-eating variety, but the service club genus that turned out in force to farewell the Governor-elect of District 201K. Mr Brian McGrath of Barden flew to Sydney today, where he will join 22 other district leaders before flying to America to be installed by the international president. Mr McGrath will be accompanied by his wife Betty, who is also an ardent worker on the Lions Women's Auxiliary. Mr McGrath, who was International Relations Officer for the district, has worked extensively on overseas Lions projects. Among those at the airport was the present district governor, Mr Sid MacDonald. He will contest the next City Council election for the Liberal Party. The Lions, one of the world's most active service clubs, boasts a worldwide membership of more than 1.5 million members.
In Britain, there's been a big demonstration of the military might of NATO countries. Heading the demonstration on the Salisbury Plain were 900 troops and 30 guns. Here's today's report from the BBC.
A multinational salvo from 105mm howitzers of the Allied Mobile Force, NATO's air transportable permanent fire brigade, whose role in life is to be first in the line of fire if ever Warsaw Pact forces should attack. British Army airborne gunners put down by Puma helicopters joined the AMF in this display. And as they go into action, British self-propelled Abbott guns sweep in from the flank. Heavier self-propelled guns capable of firing nuclear shells are also brought into play. The Allied Mobile Force is unique in its multinational composition and in the philosophy behind it, which, stated brutally, is that the first NATO soldiers to be killed in any future war should belong to as many different countries as possible, to signify that an attack on one is an attack on all. But if the force illustrates NATO's unity, it also shows up its divisions. Ideally, its guns should be standardized, but this is not so. The British, the Italians and the Germans all have the Italian pack howitzer, but the Americans and the Belgians have different types, and there'll be further diversification later this year when the British change to a new light 105.
Body contact has made its way back on the dance floor in a new craze that's sweeping the world, but it's not as romantic as it sounds. You could end up covered in bruises, as reporter Linda Scott found out.
Rock and roll, the jive, the twist and the stomp. Forget all that. There's a new dance craze now. It's called the bump. The craze started about 12 months ago in America, and American sailors brought it here. The local girls caught on pretty quick though, as Sandra King and Gertie Paiwan show you how to do it. told it's different, and if you're young enough and got the energy, why not?
World heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali has arrived in the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur to prepare for his title fight against Britain's Joe Bugner.
He was given a noisy and sometimes rowdy welcome by a crowd of supporters estimated at 10,000 people. Ali is in Kuala Lumpur for his title fight with Britain's Joe Bugner, the European champion, which is scheduled for July the 1st. Ali, who's now 33, admitted that he's near the end of his reign, but he still says he'll beat Joe Bugner and, after him, Joe Frazier.
The New South Wales Premier, Mr Lewis, today led an angry wave of outrage at the federal government's $1.6 million handout to the arts. Mr Lewis said the grants were the most ridiculous waste of public money he'd seen during his term in Parliament. He said it was ridiculous that the federal government should announce the grants at a time when the states were fighting for their existence. The grants which were announced last night include money for a Dahlia festival and $15,000 to a man who wants to compose computerised music.
A woman who was alleged to have been paid $1,746 extra on a widow's pension was fined $75 in the Brisbane Magistrates Court today. The Australian government prosecutor, Mr I.W. Bates, said 57-years-old Lillian Hessel Fulton of Margate Street, Mount Gravatt, claimed that for 3 years she was unemployed, when in fact she'd worked at a city hotel. The money will be taken out of her widow's pension over a period of time.
CSIRO scientists and staff members have stepped up their protest about the proposed transfer of the Minerals Research and Solar Energy units to the Department of Minerals and Energy. Strongly worded telegrams were sent today to the Prime Minister, Mr Whitlam, and the Acting Minister for Science, Dr Moss Cass. They called on the government to reverse its decision, to strengthen the existing structure of the CSIRO and to hold top-level urgent discussions on the move. The Executive Chairman of the CSIRO, Dr Price, has already said the move could destroy Australia's highly respected CSIRO.
In just a moment, Channel 7 Eyewitness News continues when Carolyn brings you notes on the weather.
Hello, here's the latest weather report for Friday the 13th, and it's presented by the makers of Spray Fresh. Before I go on with the temperature extremes over the state today, there's a strong wind warning current for all coastal areas along the Queensland coastline, and tonight winds will be from 25 to 30 knots, and these should continue for the next 24 hours, so I'm afraid it doesn't look like a good day for the coast at all tomorrow. Today's maximum reached 31 degrees, which was reported from Palmerville. And just to show you how cold it was last night, the minimum went down to -5 degrees at Bollen, just in here. Well, some interesting things are happening on the weather map today. Northern New South Wales coastal areas had very strong gale winds today, and along the Queensland coast we also had strong winds. These were caused by the combined effect of this high pressure system and this low just here. Also, we had colder temperatures, lower temperatures last night, and the weather has been generally fine though. Saturday, unfortunately, some showers are going to develop in southern coastal areas, and Sunday and Monday should see these showers developing further along the coast to the central and northern coasts. Also, widespread frosts are forecast for the weekend, and there is a moderate to high fire danger for most inland areas. You got all that? Brisbane's temperatures today, they were serious. It dropped to 8 degrees last night. That increased to a high of 19 today, which was one cooler than what we did expect. The Ipswich area was 8, and that rose to, no, it was 6, sorry, and that rose to 19 degrees. Further south in Sydney, 0.6 of a millimetre of rain was recorded, with temperatures rising from 6 to 16 degrees. In Canberra last night, the minimum dropped to 3, went up to 17 during the day. Melbourne also had a bit of rain today, 1 millimetre, and temperatures were 12 and 9 degrees. Well, here's the bad news for Brisbane City. Fine at first, though cloudy, with a few showers developing tomorrow. And are you ready for this? Dropping to 7 degrees tonight, so you better turn your electric blankets on now. Going up to 16 during the day. We haven't had a day as cold as that as yet, with cold, gusty, southerly winds. If you're watching from Redcliffe in the Bayside area, seas will be rough with southerly 20-knot winds and squally. Don't forget that there's a strong wind warning current for the bay, and a few showers are expected to develop, so you might give the bay a miss tomorrow. If you're interested, though, in the tides, the first high tide of 2.3 metres will be at 12:29 a.m. and low water of 0.3 of a metre at 7:20 in the morning. Toowoomba, just listen to this, it's going to be 0 there tonight. The maximum tomorrow will reach 16 degrees with fine weather. The Ipswich area going to 18, also fine there. Unfortunately for the coast, showers developing tonight on the Gold Coast. The maximum at Southport will reach 16 degrees and at the Sunshine Coast, fine 17 degrees. For those of you flying interstate tomorrow, Sydney, you'll have a few showers there, so take your umbrella, 15 and 7. Canberra, cold and dry weather tomorrow, 11 and 0. It's as bad as Toowoomba. Melbourne should become fine, 13 and 9 degrees, and 15 and 7 for Adelaide with mostly fine weather. I don't think there'll be too many of you getting up in time for sunrise, but in case you're interested, it's at 6:36 a.m. Sunset tomorrow at 5 p.m. Despite the cold weather, enjoy the long weekend while you've got it. And after this break, we're going back to Brian and Mike. Good night.
Your bulletins on Saturday and Sunday will be presented by John Fleming and Karen Berkman. Mike and I will be back with 7 Eyewitness News and you on Monday night at 6 o'clock. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. God bless.